Okay, so I've restarted like a new recording. We're just going to continue, even though you didn't notice. I did go to the bathroom, and I'm also making some food. So, this one here, Melissa Sakasias. She was an administrative employee with security clearance at Los Alamos National Laboratory in Los Alamos, New Mexico. She disappeared on June 26 after being spotted walking alone in Taos County. Although her car and personal belongings were found at her home, family members noted that both her personal and work phones had been factory reset. Her family maintains that her disappearance was not voluntary, citing her plans to care for her mother following an upcoming surgery. Well, that definitely sounds like her disappearance wasn't voluntary. Again, um, this is very brief, but with I don't know. Maybe, like I said, this is just me speaking from total ignorance about the situation. Again, just knowing some human behavior, but either someone took her, like she was kidnapped, yeah, and maybe for sinister purposes. The phone reset is definitely suspicious. Okay, the factory reset, and the thing is that I'm pretty sure that phones might be able to be factory reset even remotely. So, because she was spotted walking alone in Taos County or whatever that is. Um, so she wasn't home. She could have done it before leaving home. But I don't know. That one's a little strange, for sure. Um, so I suppose, that one, I could see why they were looking into that one, investigating it further. Anthony Chavez. Chavez, retired professional who worked at Los Alamos again, same laboratory. He was 78. Disappeared on May 8, 2025. When authorities and family members searched the 78-year-old's home, they found his wallet, keys, and personal items left behind inside. His car was locked in the driveway. There were no signs of forced entry or struggle. According to the Los Alamos Reporter, Chavez worked for decades at Los Alamos National Laboratory before retiring in 2017. Hmm. So he worked there for decades. Again, no signs of forced entry or a struggle. It could have been a case where, maybe he had an opportunity at his age before he passes away from this life to go and work at something that he's always wanted to. See what I'm saying, you guys? That sometimes maybe they're secretly given an opportunity and they take it. And they're not going to tell anybody. Like I said, and this kind of sets me up a little bit for something bad to happen. Like, they could use this as an excuse if I go missing or something happens to me. But I can tell you right now that if the higher society, these beings called extraterrestrials, whatever, that ship that I saw in 2017, for example, if somebody came here, even tonight, and said, hey, you can bring Marvin and Salem, but you have to come with us and you have to come right now. And you have to leave everything else behind. I'm really sorry, you guys, but I'd probably leave. There's my oven ready to cook. But I'd probably leave, and it's not because I don't care about other people. I mean, you have to think about my life. I've been here by myself for all these years. I have no family or friends, nothing really holding me behind. You know what I'm saying? So I would leave. But I would never want people to be talking about me on the internet, like saying stuff that wasn't true, untrue stories and conspiracy theories. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like my personal feeling about it, you know? But that kind of annoyed me with Ning Lee. And that day when I saw those videos pop up again, I'm like, that lady ain't missing. And it turns out she wasn't, I just intuitively knew. And it just took a simple Google search to find out. So these stupid arseholes on YouTube making videos for likes. But again, even at 78, like thinking, well, I've had a long time with my family, you know, I know it seems harsh, but you don't understand how some people really love what they do and they want to know more and they want to get into more. Even Bob Lazar in his interviews has said that sometimes he wishes that he didn't say anything so that he could have worked there longer and learned more stuff. He said that. And so it's a huge temptation, and sometimes that's a sacrifice people are willing to make. It's not because they don't love their family. It's really nothing to do with that. Sometimes it's not just, oh, I don't like them, so I'm just going to leave. No. But sometimes people completing their dream means everything to them. And they will sacrifice these types of things. It's not going to be easy for me to leave all my stuff. I'm going to miss my stuffed animals and all my squishmallows and my dresses and all my stuff so much. But I know that they'll give me new stuff. Hopefully I'll have one of them tight space suits like the blue people in the blue suits wear. I'll have one in every color with matching boots and everything. Maybe they'll make up for it. I think that'd be great. Wear a different one every day. So there'll be things to replace these things, even though I'll miss all my stuff. But that doesn't mean the government took me out or I was kidnapped. I voluntarily left. And so that could also be these people as well. Maybe he's like, well, I'm old now. I really want to get to know like the things that I've always wanted to know before I die. So I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm not allowed to tell anybody. That's part of the non-disclosure order. Just not allowed to say anything. And I wouldn't either. Like I wouldn't even have time. If they showed up after I finished recording, I wouldn't even have time to tell anybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's just it. And what if I wouldn't even be allowed? Like, you're not allowed. I couldn't even make a post on my YouTube post like, the beings from 2017 came back from you guys. I'm leaving. Nothing bad happened. I can't even say nothing. They won't let me. Or whatever. The circumstances could be anything. But I want you to keep that in mind that these things can happen. So Steven Garcia, a government contractor with high-level security clearance at the Kansas City National Security Campus, has been missing since leaving his Albuquerque home on August 28, 2025. Although police initially suggested Garcia might be a danger to himself after he was seen on surveillance footage carrying a handgun and leaving behind his vehicle and personal effects. See, that's two of them that have done that. Remember the fella that brought his handgun and put his boots on, left his glasses behind? It does indicate mental instability, but the paranoia and even just these discrete personal threats sometimes they'll get, even if it's just from some ding-dong on the internet or whatever, it causes them to worry. Like, I'm going to get to that part. I'm trying to get through this. I'm going to get to that part where I show you those two fellas that just kind of lost it. And one of them talks about the interdimensional reality of it, and it will do a certain thing to certain people. But I'm going to explain about this, though, and why it doesn't affect me, and how I know that, like, I don't need to worry about these things happening, okay? I promise I'm going to get there. So let's just get through this. So, Okay, so, initially, Garcia might have been a danger to himself. He was seen on surveillance footage carrying a handgun and leaving behind his vehicle and personal effects. Sources familiar with the case have disputed claims that he was mentally unstable. Well, he might not have been, but in a case of extreme stress, like if somebody had threatened him, he thought somebody was coming to get him. Again, like the interdimensional reality of something being able to pop up in your living room can really mess with people. Uh, Garcia's disappearance is notable for his proximity to fellow missing official McCaslin and his oversight. Okay, hang on. Which was the guy that went missing that we first read about? Monica. Not that one. Was it David Hicks? No. Which one was it? He left his glasses. Which one was that? Yeah, McCaslin. So they were both in similar circumstances because he put his hiking boots on, he grabbed his wallet and his gun. And so that's very similar to this fella here, Steven Garcia. They might have been targeted by the same individuals. His disappearance, his oversight of sensitive assets within the U.S. nuclear weapons arsenal. Then a connection between this and the other fella, and the fact that they went missing in very similar circumstances is a red flag for sure. And I can understand why people think that's very suspicious, because I agree. Like, you can act a little bit out of character, especially when you feel like your life is being threatened, and it would cause, like I said, you would rush, put your boots on, grab your wallet, grab your gun, let's go. You know what I mean? Especially if someone's called and said, this is going on, or maybe they've threatened them and said, we've kidnapped your daughter, blah, 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 meet us here. You never know what the situation is, but that seems like urgency. Leaving your vehicle and personal effects, unless maybe they were said to meet somewhere for one of these projects, they didn't quite trust it, and they said you have to leave right now or whatever, and maybe grabbed a gun for self-defense just in case. But the two of them going missing in similar circumstances like this, especially leaving behind everything, and like I said, that suggests urgency. Like they needed to get somewhere and they didn't care about the rest of it. Didn't want to be followed with the cell phone anyway, so leave it at home. Of course, these people would know the GPS on the phone or whatnot, so you just leave it at home. Okay. What they're saying about it. Okay, so Representative James Comer, Representative Kentucky, Chairman of the Oversight Committee and Regulatory Affairs Subcommittee, Chairman, blah, 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 issued a joint statement Monday saying the committee is investigating recent unconfirmed public reporting on the disappearance and death of individuals. Oh, okay, so it's due to public outcry to investigate. Still, that's a good thing. These reports allege that at least 10 individuals who had connection to U.S. nuclear secrets or rocket technology have died mysteriously or vanished in recent years. The lawmaker said if the reports are accurate, these deaths and disappearances may represent a grave threat to, of course, national security in the U.S. and the U.S. personnel with access to scientific secrets. We request a briefing on any information regarding these deaths and disappearances, as well as the process and procedures in place to protect American scientific secrets and ensure personnel safety. So that's pretty much it. Huh. Well, I mean, I pretty much shared everything I have to say about what I think and feel. It's a good thing they're looking into it, but like I said, I don't think that it's something that's a foreign entity. It would become something that's from coming from within. And these things are so compartmentalized that a lot of these representatives, they don't know about these other levels of government. You know, it's not to disrespect them, but they're just not privy to it because they don't have information like this, and they're never going to tell you. This is information that, so like they do this on purpose. With the case with Ningley, I found out that there are companies, they buy this research and stuff so that it's not by the government, so that no public can demand their files. So it's a private sector. That's what it's called, and that's the reason for it, so that it's completely out of public. We won't even hear about these things. So that's why Ning Lee stopped publishing her research, because she was forced to. That was in the non-disclosure order, you know? And again, yes, for national security, because they don't want other people to get a hold of her research. But, you know, there was nothing mysterious about that, other than that they're a bunch of greedy, shady assholes. That's about it. That, you know, she was working for. Because they're selfish and all of this type of stuff. And they're always worried if anybody gets it, then they'll overtake the powers that be and blah, 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 blah. So, whatever. But we're going to move over, and I'm going to talk to you about those two fellas. I don't want this to be too long, and I'm actually kind of tired. I'm going to start cooking my food as well, but we're going to move over and we're going to talk about those two guys that kind of were pushed to do some extreme things by the stress and all this stuff with the reptilian takeover, whatnot, and I will be able to tell you their exact names in just one moment. So just stick with me. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you hearing me out about these things. If you want to share your thoughts and comments below, I always appreciate talking to you about them, or about your thoughts and feelings and these subjects that I'm posting about, you know? So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. That's the first time I've ever really looked at it at all. I was aware that Amy Eskridge was part of it, but not the other ones. So, yeah, we will be right back, and I'm going to talk to you about those two fellas, and then we're going to wrap this video up. See you in just a minute.